Well, let me get this straight. You think that
My Hero Academia is overrated?
I do. And I'm tired of pretending it's not.
But what about all them waifus though? You have gone too far this time.
Nope, don't care. Not sorry. I have nothing to apologize for. My Hero Academia is just overrated and that's that.
The internet is gonna destroy you for this one.
Okay fine, better to die a hero than to live long enough to see yourself become a shill. If you can't defeat my arguments in this video then that must mean I'm right. If you can, I'll admit I'm wrong, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
Oh really tough guy. Okay, let's make it interesting. If I win this debate, I get to run the next anime as overrated episode.
And if I win you have to admit this damn show is basic as frick. In fact, I'll do another anime as overrated episode just to rub it in your face.
Oh, it's on bitch.
You there, human, watching at home? There will be 2 comments pinned below the video. Listen to all of my arguments and I mean all of them, and decide who wins by upvoting one of the comments. If my comment gets the most votes then I win, but if the voice of reason gets more votes he wins. Alright, let's do this you little punk.
So what shall it be? Do you join the Unity, or do you die here?
The first problem with My Hero Academia is that the story that is told is completely disconnected to the main theme. The main theme of My Hero Academia is as Midoriya has put it.
Here's the sad truth. All men are not created equal.
Not all men are created equal. Well, that's very interesting and deep. It is a rebuttal to what is taught in the Bible, for example. And from the sound of it, this Christian idea is going to be challenged in this story in an interesting way. This could be the theme of an interesting and thought-provoking show. How is it that people born in unlucky circumstances make it in this world? Why are some people born powerful and others not so much? I mean, just like real life, if you were unlucky to not be born as a superior mutant, how do you even live? What's even the point? Perhaps this will be a deep and gripping analysis of inequality and how unfortunate people make the best of their situation. Perhaps we will see Midoriya try his best to become a hero in a world full of heroes even though he doesn't have superpowers. And we see him triumph despite his lack of a quirk, and we learn that being a hero is not about having a quirk, but about being a person who never gives up. Oh never mind, All Might gave him powers.
I deem you worthy of my power. My quirk is yours to inherit.
And in one fell swoop the show has just thrown away an interesting premise in favor of a boring quirk. Because apparently, audiences would get bored if Deku didn't have powers. So, the message of the show is, if you are born in an unfortunate situation, some random asshole will just give you special powers that will solve your problems. By doing this, the show misses a massive opportunity to not only explore the theme I mentioned before, but also make an inspirational story about how if you believe in yourself, you can accomplish anything. I admit, I'm a sucker for those kinds of stories. But apparently this story is more of a, if you can't accomplish your goals, someone will just hand it to you on a silver platter and magically make your dreams come true. This is much less engaging. The show goes from being about how life is unfair and challenging a religious view to literally giving the main character the answer to his prayers. How exactly does that convey the theme of
All men are not created equal?
First of all, you mentioned how the show gives up the thematic point in exchange for the quote-unquote boring quirk. I don't think it's boring at all. The way One for All works is that it's extremely powerful, but it comes at the cost of damaging Midoriya. This is an interesting drawback to the power. You mentioned Brandon Sanderson's rules for magic systems in a previous video, about how the limitations of a power are more interesting than the actual power itself. Well, as we can see, the way One for All works appears to adhere to this rule very nicely. The more Midoriya uses his power, the more damage to himself he does. Which means there is essentially a ticking clock counting down every time Midoriya is in a fight till he reaches the point of failure. That is a good source of tension for the show. In fact, it follows another storytelling rule made by the king of tension himself, Alfred Hitchcock, known as bomb theory.
4 people are sitting around a table, talking about baseball, whatever you like. Suddenly, a bomb goes off, blows the people to smithereens. What do the audience have? 10 seconds of shock. Now take the same scene and tell the audience there is a bomb under that table and will go off in 5 minutes. Well, the whole emotion of the audience is totally different, because you've given them that information, that in 5 minutes' time, that bomb will go off.
When understanding Midoriya's powers through this lens, One for All is a stroke of good storytelling. The fact that Midoriya has this limit means that whenever he is in a fight, the metaphorical bomb starts ticking down, and when it goes off, Midoriya would have broken his bones and lost the fight. And since the audience has this information, they know that every time Midoriya uses his powers, he is closer to losing, which slowly ramps up the tension. Not to mention that you claim the show isn't inspirational, but you couldn't be more wrong. It's inspirational as heck. The only reason Midoriya even has the power is because of his heroic act saving Bakugo. So he does earn his powers through being a hero. So not only does this show have good tension, but good characters.
Oh really, this moment was earned to you? Let's have a look at the scene.
What am I doing? Why am I running? Why can't I stop? What the hell? Why are you here? I don't know! My legs! They just started moving! I don't know why I did what I did.
Sorry, kid, it's not gonna...
He doesn't so much choose of his own volition to do something heroic, his hero heart forces him to do the right thing. If this doesn't get your eyes rolling to the back of your skull, I don't know what will. The message here is that, if you are ever in a tough situation, you won't have to be brave and make a hard choice. Oh no! If you are a good person, your hero brain will magically force you to do the right thing. It takes what could have been a character moment and turns it into a cringy as hell moment that tries to hit you over the head with just how much of a good person Deku is with zero subtlety. It unintentionally takes a cynical and essentialist approach to what it means to be a hero. The whole purpose of this scene is to make it feel like Deku earns his powers, and the way they approach it makes it feel like the most unearned moment in history.
I think you're interpreting the scene the wrong way. Midoriya still makes a conscious choice in this scene. His internal monologue is only showing he doesn't know how to rationalize what he is doing. Because he is an emotional character acting on an emotional urge to save his friend. This is still a choice. The internal monologue doesn't show he doesn't have free will, it's just a way of showing his altruistic yet impulsive nature. It's who he is on the inside.
Even if you think this moment was earned, which it absolutely wasn't, then you still can't say that any of the other victories he has are earned.
Oh, you're talking about the entrance exam, right? You're already differing to a different point because you know you're wrong.
I am not moving from this point. The entrance exam is a symptom of a larger problem I am getting at. The plot contrivances. When it comes to the entrance exam, I think the contrivance of its ending speaks for itself. For a show whose theme argues against biblical idea that not all men are created equal, it sure does rely on a lot of deus ex machinas to even the playing field. Deku literally gets into the school without earning any points because why the hell not? This is supposed to be a show about how not all men are created equal and how some people have to struggle more than others to get to the top. And Deku doesn't get in based on the struggle he goes through in the exam, but because he was lucky enough to punch the big robot without knowing it would do him any good. Once again, this character doesn't have that much agency and is mostly getting by on contrived luck.
You obviously didn't get the point of the episode if that was your takeaway. The whole point is to teach our heroes that being a hero isn't about the recognition or the points we score from being a hero. It's about doing heroic things despite there being no clear reward for your actions. I mean, come on, did you see the size of that robot? Are you telling me they were not gonna let in a hero that could take down that thing? Of course they will. It makes sense the exam would be run that way and that they would test each hero's character as well as their powers, which addresses the point you made before. It all just makes sense.
I also agree that this makes sense.
Really?
Yeah, in fact it makes too much sense. It's almost too fair. What is the theme of this show again? Not all men are created equal and life is unfair. This show is not doing a good job of conveying that through the fact that Deku was able to get in based on the oddly fair examination process. I am just not getting the message that the show started off trying to tell from the actual story it tells. This is just another example of how there is a lot of dissonance between the theme and the actual story. It just mentions how not all men are created equal and goes nowhere with that idea.
All men are not created equal.
Oh no! Anyway, last week...
Here you go again about the theme. I should have expected you to find any excuse to talk about ludonarrative dissonance.
Thematic dissonance, not ludonarrative.
Whatever. Same thing. What I'm trying to say is that the theme is not all that important.
Don't backtrack on me, I'm not done with this point. You said that Deku earns his powers and the power helps keep the tension. I would argue that Deku not having powers would have been even more tense. But even so, the Brandon Sanderson rule you mentioned is broken by One for All. Or at least the way it is used. At the tournament fight with rip-off Prince Zuko, Deku has established that he can use his powers at the cost of breaking his finger. So that keeps the ticking time bomb you mentioned, and it establishes a limitation for the audience to know. Once he runs out of fingers, game over. So what does Deku do when all of his fingers are broken? This guy decides he can double break his fingers. What kind of bullshit is this? This completely destroys the tension because why doesn't he just triple break his fingers, or quadruple break them? It's completely contrived. So the whole purpose of the limitation on One for All is invalidated by the fact that, A, the pre-established logic the audience is following is as broken as Deku's fapping hand. And B, if you have seen literally any anime, you know this limitation will be done away with in a training montage or a fight where, just as all hope seems lost but then Deku uses One for All to do a billion thousand ultimate mega ultimate cool super hyper mega deluxe % and then the villain goes Nani, this is impossible, which we know it isn't, and then the supposedly super bad villain we are supposed to take seriously is beaten and then cries, pisses his pants and then shits and comes. This is the most annoying trope in anime. One that I will continue to complain about through this anime is Overrated series. Every time Deku gets into trouble, we all sit there and think, oh, he'll just increase the % he can use the power and he'll win that way. It's the Dragon Ball Z problem with the power level crap. If you have seen literally any anime in existence you know this is going to happen at some point so why would we care? And you can't sit there and tell me that the fight between Deku and Hitoshi Shinso was not a deus ex machina and a half. Nothing quite says contrived like the power of some random ghosts coming to unfuck the situation Deku had fucked for himself. You can't tell me that was earned.
You are just like those guys that nitpick every little plot detail. Besides, it's the interesting characters that we enemy to fans like. They are so well written and relatable.
Of course you would find bitch baby Deku relatable. They have him crying every 5 seconds as some cheap attempt at plucking our heartstrings. I'm kind of embarrassed that you fell for it.
I was talking more about All Might and Tenya. All Might is a deep dive into the psychology of your typical comic book hero. He is sort of a stereotypical super strength Superman type. But My Hero Academia takes that archetype and explores how we build up our heroes or even celebrities in the real world and deify them. And what that kind of effect that has on a person's mind. And let's be real, Tenya is just the GOAT.
I actually agree that All Might is an interesting character. So here's my question, why can't they make the show about him? What's so frustrating is that despite all my criticisms, the show isn't bad. It's worse than bad. It's May. The writers of this show demonstrate glimpses of talent, like this show has a two-dimensional generic protagonist in the same show as All Might and the contrast couldn't be clearer. That's why I never claim the show is bad per se. Just that it is overrated. It doesn't deserve the hype so many people give it.
Whatever. You are backtracking and just hating on the show because it's popular. You are one of those conceited anime fans that will only like a show if it's obscure and hate it if it's popular. You're just a
Contrarian?
Yeah.
Well, just to be a contrarian, you'll have to disagree with your point. I still like popular anime, ones we will probably talk about in this series. But My Hero Academia doesn't hold a candle to any of the other popular anime out there. Full Metal Alchemist, Attack on Titan, Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, Cowboy Bebop. None of these shows are perfect but they all outshine My Hero Academia in such painfully obvious ways. And they don't have to rely on pedo bait to gain a fanbase. Except maybe Naruto. Maybe.
Hey, I ain't no pedo. I'm a kid. And you have to admit that My Hero Academia waifus are kinda bad though.
Nope Not today, get that pedo shit out of my face.
Whatever, that's hardly unique to My Hero Academia. Lots of anime has a lot worse than that.
That's not a defense. It's a deflection. With all that being said, what exactly makes My Hero Academia more than just a overhyped piece of mediocrity? Name one thing.
The waifus.
Other than the waifus.
Well, I think it has to do with, on top of all the other stuff, the imagination this show inspires. I mean, you certainly can't fault the immersive world building. It gets you to imagine what quirk you would have in this world and what it would be like. I know lots of superhero shows inspire that sort of thing. But the reason My Hero Academia inspires so much imagination is because of how wacky and creative the quirks are, coupled with the fact that anyone can have a quirk. The fact that this is just a part of everyday life makes the world of My Hero Academia a fun world to imagine oneself in and to imagine what it's like. It's just a fun idea. That, coupled with the fact the show is not as bad as you have made it out to be, and you have a pretty good show on your hands.
Agree to disagree. But I'll let the comments decide who's right. Be sure to upvote which one of us you believe is right. Also, while you're down there, give the subscribe button a tap.